Okay, so good evening, everyone. Hope you can see hear me.
Good evening, sir.
All right, so we have to start because of time. We have waited enough. Um, can anybody remind us where we stopped? I know we couldn't meet last week, Thursday. So I don't know if we can still remember where we stopped, but I'm very sure that we are about starting the second phase of application of Python for data analytics. No, we are done with how to inspect our data with Python inbuilt attributes and functions. We have also covered how to clean up our data. We have looked at different data cleaning techniques. And I told us that the next meeting will be looking at analysis. I hope I'm correct for those that you're in that class. Let me get a response so that.
In the in the video, sir, where the video stopped because I was not in the class, but I watched the video. How to rename data features,
Yes,
stroke headers in
yes,
Python.
that is the last topic under data cleaning. Yes, that is the last topic under data cleaning. So we are supposed to start looking at how to start analyzing data. So which means that we have observed the approach, the standard approach. We have learned how to import our library. We have learned how to load in the data sets you want to analyze. We have also learned how to check the data information, which we recognize as data inspection during our lecture. And then we have also looked at different techniques on how you can clean up your data, should in case you have those identify lapses. So we are looking at data selection slash filtering techniques, which is part of analysis because there are a lot of analysis questions that can be answered with this series of techniques we are going to be looking at. So just to give us an idea of what we have ahead of us before we can say that we are done with Python. After this set of data filtering or data selection analysis, we still have data aggregation, and then finally we still have data visualization, that is converting our insight to graphs, and that will be the last set of topic in Python. So, but because I'm starting with a new notebook, I'm going to start by importing the necessary libraries and then load in my data set afresh because I'm using a different laptop. So I believe before we get to the main analysis, others will have joined us. So let me start by importing my library, importing analysis library, such as the first one is the library that offers us a set of functions for us to reprocess and also perform statistical analysis on our data sets. So I'm going through this because I know that some of us will just feast our Anaconda, so should in case they are having issues on how to load libraries and data, this section, what I'm doing right now will be of assistance to them. So you start by saying import pandas as PD. And then we also import NumPy as NP. And then the third line is optional, actually. So we can just simply say from pandas import series. The series, the S should be capital letter, and then comma, data frame, the D and the F should be capital letter. So let me run the code and see if everything is okay. All right, so we have successfully imported all the required library. Since it doesn't throw any form of error, it's a confirmation that we have imported the library and also our codes are correct. So the next thing is for me to import, to load in my data, loading my data sets, loading my data set. Now, I'm going to load in a CSV data set and also Excel worksheet data set. So let me start with CSV. For CSV, I'll start by creating a variable. Let's say my variable is data1 equals to, so I'll say PD, which means you are acknowledging the library that is offering you the function for reading in the data set. So we say read underscore CSV, then you open a bracket, then activate your string, then go back to the home page. This is the data set I want to load in. So I'll right click on it. I'll select copy path, go back here and paste it. Now, I'm very sure that if I try running this code, it might generate error of not being able to locate the directory. So you can see it now. So if you scroll down to see the key error, you will agree with me that the error is that Python is not able to locate that URL as the destination where you have the data. So how do I know? I just want to go to the last section, that is the key error, and it says no such file or directory in the data or in the system. So what I'm going to do is to shorten the process so that I can easily locate the file. So I'm just going to use only the name. So I'll delete every other thing. I'll leave only the actual name of the data. So if I run it, I should be able to get my results. So you can see that I have been able to load in the data. So for me to see the data, I have to call the name of the data, data1, and run it. So I have my CSV data loaded. So let me also load in the Excel data. So I will say loading Excel data set. So I'll give a variable name data2 equals to the same pd.read. This time around is going to be underscore Excel. And then you open the bracket, activate your string, then also go back to the home. And then this is the one I want to load. So I will just right click and copy the path as well. Go back to my notebook and then paste. Of course, this one, if you try using only the name, you might get error because you have space between, in other words, you are using up to 4 different words to name this. So you might not be able to get it by just what? Using the name. So what I will do, I will use the relative method that I taught us before. So delete the first URL and put 2 dots there and then run it. Let's see if we'll be able to get the data. Perfect. So now I'll just call the name of the data2 and then run it. So I also have the Excel data loaded. So don't forget that we talk about inspecting the data. I don't want to go into that, but I will just do few of them. Let's assume I want to check the length and the width of the data2. So I can just say what? Data2 dot columns. This one we call them out dot shape. For the sake of those that just fix their anaconda, at least this will help you to refresh your memory. So you can see that this data, I have 20 good attributes or headers and 149 entries, right? So if I want to call out the headings to enable me to understand how I'll go about my questions, so I can also say data2 dot columns, data2 dot column, and that we call out what? The header, and that will enable me to understand the header. So remember that the last topic was how to modify the header. In this case, we have a lot of headers to modify because if we continue working with this data, we'll be getting a lot of error, particularly when you want to select headers with space in between the words describing them. So that is where we brought in the rename. If you remember, we brought in what? The rename concept. So we simply say data2 dot rename. All right. So data2 dot rename is a function. And then we'll start by specifying what you want to rename. So we want to rename our columns. Columns equals to is a dictionary. So you open this. Then the first one, the first column. So let's say I want to add underscore in between these employees and name. So I will highlight it. Remember, I advise us to always copy from the data to avoid typographical error. So I will just come here and paste. Then come outside the string, put column, then create another string, then paste the same thing. This time around, you can just come here. I either merge them or you add underscore. So if I run it, I will have end up renaming just this. So I want to rename other ones. This is data cleaning. This was the last topic. Then once you add a comma, so which means that this is like the key, while this is like the value from our dictionary concept. So comma, I will put another string. I'll copy the next header I want to edit. So let's say I want to modify this, Control C, and then bring it here, Control V, and then come outside here, add your column, and then string again, and then paste it, then modify the space. Either you join it together or you add underscore. So I put a comma so I can open it up like this after adding the comma after the last one, or I can bring in the comma here. So I'll take another string and then bring in, this one is just one word, does not require editing. This one is one word, 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 then this one is two words, so I have a space. So I'll take this, Control C, and then come outside, pull the string, paste again, close off the gap. Let me add underscore, I come here, add your comma, another string. The next one I want to edit is basic salary, the space between, so I have to, you can decide to have settled all these things from Excel, but it's good we are reversing this now. I'll just close the space, add underscore, comma, we still have more. Once I add my comma, I can break it down, and then my string again. So I'm taking this, just that they are much, so I will just jump. See, once I've captured the major ones, I will just jump so that we don't use the whole time for this. Part of what we have done. You watch the video, you understand it there. Underscore. So let me just add one more. No, we are going to work with annual salary, capture basic salary. So let me just go straight to annual salary. After this, I should be able to execute. So now, so what is going to happen is that it's going to automatically update this data too. So the next time you call that data too, you'll see that all these changes will have been what implemented. So let's run it now and see. So I believe everything will have been added. So let's check it. So you can see the underscore here, the underscore here, the underscore here, the underscore here. So with that, we have been able to what? To clean up the headings. I hope you are following, particularly Collins. I know you are just going to start afresh. Collins, hope you are following.
So, yes, sir.
All right. So so now that is us to the topic of the day, which is let me say introduction, because we might not be able to finish it. Introduction to data. Can start writing for those that care to write. Data selection slash filtering techniques in Python. So that is the topic we want to dive into. So what do we mean by data selection? The word selection or the word filter means that from an entire data frame, you want to what? Pull out certain aspects. And these aspects you want to pull out, you do not just sit down, look at the data and say you want to pull them out. It's as a result of trying to answer valid analysis question that will prompt towards application of these techniques. So as we continue, you will see how I am going to be twisting them to answer analysis question. But let's start with what we know as data concatenation. Is the very first concept that we want to look at, because this will enable us to join two data sets together or select part of one data. Or within the same data, you can just select two different parts, save them separately and then what? Merge them together. So the practical scenario here, I want us to look at this data set. So we are not just going to be doing this. We are doing this, like I said, to answer analysis question. Not just that, we are also doing this to derive actionable insight. insight that can influence decision making positively. So if you look at this data, this is a salary payroll data set. All right. And like we do say that you should always try to understand your data before you start your main analysis. So you can see that we have header ranges from employee's name, employee's ID, the state they are from, their gender, the department, and the status, grade, hire date, basic salary, and so forth. Now let's assume that you want to call out employee's name and department, or let's make it more reasonable. You want to call out the employee name and their basic salary. That is just these two columns. We want to bring them out from this entire data, store them in a different data frame. Then we will now use a function called concat, which will now take us to the very first aspect of data filtering technique. So the first task given to us as a data analyst is to extract part of this data to form a different data set. So I'm going to put it in form of tasks. So the task here, the first task, task 1 is select, because we are looking at data selection technique, select our employees name and store them as a different data sets. That is the first task. Then the second task is task 2. Task 2. Okay, task 2 also do same for basic salary, just to save my time. Basic salary, do same for basic salary. So let me answer these tasks. Then, in fact, let me outline all the tasks so that we'll take them one after the other. So task 3. Task 3 is join them together to form a new data frame for our analysis. So at the end of the day, it is this copy that you want to analyze. All right, so there can be so many reasons why you want to do this. Could be that the whole analysis is based on the employee's name against their basic salary. So why having other information there? Because that will end up distracting you. So as a data analyst, you are trying to simplify it. You are trying to make your analysis look more focused. So you don't want to be distracted. That is why you are pulling out the section of the data you have identified that is useful, and then you leave the rest, and then you focus your analysis on that particular combined copy. So here we are going to use using .concat function. All right, so the word concatenation means joining. So the first task is what? We are asked to pull out all the employees' name column, or the employees' name column from the data 2 data frame and store it as, so I'll give it a descriptive word name as employee. I'll say what? Employee equals to, then I'll call the name of the data set, and then we use square brackets, and then use string to quote or to call the header. So remember that we have modified the header So we have to go to the data set where we have modified the header. I think is this one. So I'll copy this. Always copy. Don't try to type because you might fall into the error of or the trap of not spelling it correctly. So you go in here and then paste it. So if I run it, I'm having what? Name data is not defined. Name data is not defined. Yes, I know my error. That data is what? Not just data, is data 2. So I need to add the correct name and then run it. So you can see that in as much, so it's still loading. Once we get a value here, it means we have, okay, we have error. Let's go and check what the error is this time around. I say what? Employees. Employees. Why employees? What the error is? Employee. So let's look at the detail. Could be that. Okay. Let me try another way. Maybe that it has not recognized the changes we added. But there's another way. Let's see whether to recognize it. So I can bring this and then use this method to run it and see if I'm going to get data frame object has no attribute what? Employee name. Is it true? Let's check. So I believe we may have to restart. It has not acknowledged this. Okay, let me do something. This is what we are going to do. Let's see whether we have actually acknowledged the changes. So let me just temporarily comment this out and then call that data 2 and see whether it's still outputting the old header label. So let me see, because sometimes it be that. So you can see the problem. All right, so let's see what the error at. I don't know whether you saw what I checked before the network timed us out. Now look at this here. This is a challenge that you can face. You can see that what I did is I tried calling back the data that we claim we have modified the header. You can see that when we call data 2, data 2 has not actually what? Modified itself to the one we changed the header. That was the reason why it was complaining. So which means that what we ought to do is to save the whole of this as a data, a new different, that is a new data, or you can just come here after here and put what? Comma, and say in place equals to true. In place equals to true. So if I run this, let's see if this could not commit it, then we will now have to save the modified one as a different data set. Let's say data 3, and that is the one we're working with. So even with this, we could not get the update. So what I'm going to do is this. So I'm going to take the whole of this and say what? Data 3, and say what? Equals to. So which means, let me run it. Now, if I run data 3, If I run data 3, so you can see that now you have properly acknowledged those what changes. So now if I go to where we were trying to select only that name now, if I bring it back, if I bring this back, and then I change it to data 3, then I change it to, let me run this first. Right, so let's see whether we get an output. Yeah, I think it has accepted it. So all we need to do is to call employee to see what we actually filtered out. Call employee. Now remember, there was a technique that I told us that where you have a very long word like this, you don't have to start typing the whole of it. Just type EM, then locate the tab button on your keyboard, press it twice to bring out the full name, and then run it. So you can see that with this, we have been able to pull out the entire word, the entire name value. And that was the first task, because the first task said that to call out the name, the employee's name, then store it in the different data. So in this case, we have called it out, and now they are in this. So we'll now look at the second task. The second task says that we should do the same for what? Basic salary, which means that from the data 3, we should call out this column and its value as well. So what I'm going to do here now is to follow the same procedure, but remember that I use a period to call it. So let me use, since we have fixed the data now, let me use the square bracket method. So anyone you feel that is faster for you. So here is, I will just say basic salary. Let's say basic underscore salary or sal equals to, I'll call the name of the data set, data 3. This time around, I'm using square brackets, so I will just go and get the header, copy this, Control C, then you go down, paste it. So if I run it, so this will call out all the values under that column. So I will also save, we have also saved it as basic underscore salary. So for me to see the value, I'll simply call basic. So BA, then the tab button, and that brings out the full name. Click on it, then run it. So you also have all the basic salary value called out. So with that, we have answered the second question, which says what? The first one says select all the employees' name from that data set and store them as a different data set, which we have now stored in employee. The second task says we should call out the basic salary and then store it or store them in a different data set, which we have also done. Now, where we are going is this. This is actually the main task, which is join them together to form a new data frame for our analysis using this function. So that will now take us to concatenation as one of the logic for data merging. All right, so the idea is that the company you are working for can send two different data sets to you separately, and then they expect that you join them together before your analysis can be complete. So if you are given data in that manner, this solution is what you need to be able to join them together. Though we still have other options. But let's start with the concatenation. So now, therefore, concatenate employee and basic what? Sal. So what is the syntax? What is the syntax? What is the syntax? So the syntax is for you to define the new name. Define the new name. For example, I will say, okay, combined data or final data. Sorry. I can just come here and say final what? Data. Final underscore data is equals to then, sorry, final underscore data is equals to PD, because this function concatenation, we are getting it from pandas. That is why we are doing PD dot the function concat, right? So you now open your bracket. So once you have opened your bracket, the next thing is for you to supply the two data sets. And because you are joining two data sets together, you have to put them in square brackets. So I'll select what square bracket inside that parenthesis bracket. And then after that, I can now mention the two different data sets and separate them with just what? A comma. So the first one is employee. So I'll just type EM, press the tab, and then it brings it out. Then comma. The second one is B basic. Then type BA, press the tab, and then it brings it out. And then I can now run it. Now, we can concatenate our two data sets based on, that is vertically and horizontally. So what I'm saying is that, let me just quickly illustrate it so that you know why I'm going to introduce an attribute. Now let's assume that this is the first data set. This is the employee's name, and this is the basic salary. All right. I can join them like this. I can bring this one under this. So